little bit of background about Equisys. And from there, I'm going to move into the various flavors that are available within the Zetadox product line. We'll start off discussing Zetadox Express, which is a light version of our software that's available to customers that are running NAV 2009 R2 and newer systems at no cost for the software, and I'll give you more details about that version and do a quick overview demonstration. Then from there, we're going to move on to some of the advanced features that are available with our Essentials and Plus editions. And I put together some scenarios that are based on feedback that we've gotten from our customers as to why they were deploying a solution to, let's say, streamline the process of sending invoices and what results they saw. So to start off, giving you a little bit of history about Equisys, we've been in business for over 25 years, and the company, since its inception, has been developing document management and delivery solutions. The software package that I'm going to be highlighting today, Zetadox for NAV, was actually developed based on partners such as ICEPs and customers reaching out to us many years ago looking for a solution to streamline the sending of invoices and statements. And to give you an idea how long ago it was, the preferred means of delivery that they wanted to send them out by was fax. So they were looking to our network fax solution, ZetaFax. Well, we developed an offering to meet that need, and then we got additional requests. Obviously, people wanted to start emailing those documents out. Then they wanted to be able to store archived copies of those so that they can retrieve along with other supporting documentation. And that's really how the product came to be. And now we have over 550 installations of the full Zetadox Delivery and Capture Essential and Plus editions of our software. We think the reason that the software has been picked up so quickly is that it does have a broad appeal across a variety of vertical markets. One thing in talking with organizations, no matter what the vertical market is, everyone has challenges centered around retaining documents and also delivering documents out to their customers. Now, about 4 years ago, we actually entered into a partnership with Microsoft to offer a light version of our software, which is called Zetadox Express. And that product came to be because Microsoft felt there was a need to add some document management capabilities into NAV, and they looked at the partner community and selected Equisys as its preferred partner to offer a light version with our Express offering. With our product lines, as you can see, we've got been certified for Dynamics NAV 2013. We also, and this is something I need to add to this slide, is we've also actually been certified for NAV 2015 as well. Now, I like to use this slide to highlight how Zetadox assists organizations. Oftentimes, organizations lack visibility to supporting documentation and files from within NAV. The simple process of answering a customer question might require contacting the finance team or a trip to one of the many file cabinets within an organization. Document management solutions like Zetadox and Zetadox Express remove the clouds, giving users access to supporting files on screen directly from within the NAV system. This helps businesses to become more streamlined in their daily processes. Zetadox is a document management software that, since its inception, has been designed for Microsoft Dynamics NAV, and it's the leading add-on in its class. The software is designed to solve the problems faced by many finance departments, which is that they use mountains of paper, and this can lead to many inefficiencies. Using Zetadox is a more effective way of making these documents visible by giving users access to them on screen. As we mentioned before, customer and vendor inquiries can be handled much faster since employees will have access to all supporting documentation, whether it be a customer purchase order, a proof of delivery document, or a vendor invoice. All of those files will be accessible directly from within NAV. Giving on-screen access to this information helps organizations promote lean accounting principles, improve customer service, and also support green initiatives. Now, a high-level overview as to how Zetadox works. Zetadox for NAV software is a solution that is capable of capturing faxed, emailed, or paper documents and then linking them to the appropriate transaction within NAV. All documents will be stored to a central document archive, and we support either a network folder option or also SharePoint as the archive for companies that have deployed that solution. All the information will be accessible from within NAV because when we store the documents to the archive, we tag them with certain metadata fields which will link it to the appropriate transaction within NAV. I like to highlight the fact that the documents are stored in a separate archive, the reason being that as the document volumes increase or supporting files increase, it's not going to have any negative impact on the performance of your NAV system. In addition to being able to capture and archive documents, as Greg mentioned, the system can also be used to streamline the delivery of documents, and probably the most common ones we hear are the delivery of sales invoices and statements. And with our solution, depending on the version, you can actually send out a batch of invoices at the end of the day and have them go by the customer's preferred means of delivery, whether that be email, fax, or hard copy print. And the nice thing about the solution is once you set up the rules within the customer card or vendor card, as the case may be, then from the user standpoint, they don't need to remember which customers want to receive documents in what format. They can just process the entire batch and let Zetadox take care of the rest. Now, in speaking with our customer base, that jumped ahead on me. In speaking with our customer base, they typically mention three broad areas of customer benefits that Zetadox allows in organizations. First off, it saves time and cost by allowing organizations to send, file, and retrieve documents automatically and electronically rather than manually using paper. I've worked with organizations where they spend an hour each morning filing proof of delivery documents from the previous day. When deploying Zetadox, they were actually to streamline that process to a few minutes. Zetadox also improves the service that an organization can offer by allowing customer service teams, for example, to have access to supporting documentation on screen. Rather than having to reach out to the finance team or going over to a file cabinet, they can answer a customer or vendor inquiry while they have them on the phone without having to put them on hold or call them back. And finally, more and more organizations have green initiatives, and with Zetadox, we support an organization's ability to reduce its carbon footprint by cutting the amount of paper that an organization prints, stores, but also the amount of delivery miles in the sending of invoices by being able to email those invoices out rather than sending them through traditional methods. So that's an overview of Zetadox. Now I want to talk to you a little bit more about the partnership that we entered into with Microsoft. For those of you that are not familiar, we did enter into a partnership to develop a product called Zetadox Express. This partnership was announced several years ago, and it is available to customers that are running NAV 2009 R2 with the role-tailored client and newer. It is available for 2013, 2013 R2, and also 2015. Microsoft at the time felt that the managing the flow of documents was such an integral part of common business processes, such as the sales order process and purchase order process, that they wanted to include document management as a standard component of NAV. That's when they looked to the ISV community and selected Equisys. And we think they chose us based on the tight integration that is between the two software products, and you'll see that in just a moment. Now, here are some of the logistics of the Express offering. It's available for your partner to install. There's no cost for the software. There's just the services to have it implemented by ISEPs. And I have all of the versions that are supported on your screen, along with the archives that are available. So it's available to store files to SharePoint Online, SharePoint On-Premise, and also we have a network folder option. If you'd like more information or to see FAQs on this particular version of the software, it's available on our website at zetadocs.com. And we've got several sections, including some customer, or I should say, an overview video. But actually, what I'm going to do right now is go into my 2013 R2 demo system and show you the two capabilities that are included with Zetadocs Express. With the Express offering, it has two main features, which are the ability to archive files using what we call drag and drop technology, and also the ability to send out a purchase order, for example, using Save and Send. So let me get out of my PowerPoint and go into my demo environment. And for the Zetadocs Express demonstration, what I've done is put together a purchase order in NAV, as you can see on your screen. Now, over on the right-hand side, you can see a document window. And this is added when you deploy Zetadocs Express. You do need to determine the pages that you would like to add this on. So typically we've seen accounts where they will add it to all of the sales and purchase related pages, such as order confirmations, quotes, invoices. But you can also apply it to other areas in the system, such as the customer card or vendor card, if you wanted to attach a W-9, for example. And we also have instances where people have stored documents to the project card or item card as other examples as to how it can be used. But for today's session, let me go ahead, and what I've done is I've actually created this purchase order within NAV based on an email, and I'll say I'm April within the purchasing team, and April has received an email from Charles requesting that we buy a computer and some services. Once April keys the details into NAV, all she has to do to archive a copy of this quote that we've received in Charles's email is take the email and simply drag and drop it onto the fact box. When I do that, Zetadocs Express is going to store a secure copy out to the archive. It's going to tag it with certain fields that link it back to this transaction. And it is a secure copy so that if April deletes it from her inbox, as you can see I just did there, it's not going to impact the copy that's been stored out to the archive. Now, a question I get quite a bit from customers is, well, that's great for being able to drag and drop an email, but does the system have the ability to attach other files? And yes, you can take any file and drag and drop it, a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet. If I took this entire email over, it would take the body of the email and any attachments. Or in this instance, since there's not a lot of content I want to save from the email, all I want is the service terms, I can actually just take the service terms document and drag that file. And there you can see we've got the PDF that's been attached. So that's the basic capture capabilities that are available with Zetadox Express. Next, I wanted to highlight another feature that we've heard customers use quite a bit, and that's the ability to save and send a report out of NAV. So for today's session, what I've got is, now that we've got this information, I want to send out a copy of this PO to the vendor. And in talking with customers, what I found is oftentimes what users are doing is printing this to a PDF printer, saving it to their desktop, opening an email, attaching it to the email, cut and pasting the email address before sending it to the vendor. With Zetadox Express, that whole process can be streamlined. In the ribbon at the top of the screen, you can see a Save and Send button that we've added using Zetadox Express. When a user clicks on that, it's going to take the report from NAV, convert it to a PDF. We're going to pull the email address over from the vendor card. And as you can see here, we've got the purchase order. We've populated the subject line. The user can then just type in a quick message before clicking Send. And once that purchase order is sent out, a copy is automatically archived. So the next person that logs into the system, provided they have the appropriate rights, would be able to go in and view all of these files. So for example, if there was a question regarding the pricing, you actually could go and see the quote email that was received, and all of that could be accessed directly from within your NAV system. So that is an overview of Zetadox Express. It's a very popular solution. In fact, it's been downloaded over 5,000 times. And it is, once again, available to customers that are running 2009 R2 with the role-tailored client and later. So with that, I'm actually going to go back into my PowerPoint and discuss some of the advanced versions of the software that we have. All right, there we go. So with Zetadox, I did highlight the features, the drag and drop feature and the save and send feature that's available as part of Express. Now, we do have more advanced versions of the software that are available that allow for different elements to be streamlined. So as an example, rather than sending one invoice at a time, with the Essentials and Plus editions, we can actually set the system up so that you can send a batch of invoices at once. We can also streamline the capturing of documents. So if you're going to be capturing proof of delivery documents, rather than dragging and dropping each one, if we can put a barcode on that document when it gets signed or when it's printed out of NAV, when it comes back, you can scan those in and have them all automatically attached based on the barcode that is printed on the proof of delivery document. Now, with Zetadox, we have various versions that are available. So we've got the Zetadox Express version, which is the foundation level. And Zetadox Express can be deployed throughout an organization. We've seen this quite a bit where an organization will start by deploying Zetadox Express to take advantage of the no-cost software capabilities that are available, but then start realizing there are certain areas that could be streamlined even further. And that's where the Essentials and Plus editions of our software come in. Now, all versions are designed to work with each other. We have several organizations where they've rolled Zetadox Express out to all of their users, but just have the, let's say, delivery essentials, have purchased delivery essentials for the finance team, so users have the ability to batch deliver a group of invoices at once. For today's session, I'm actually going to be showing the features that are available in the Delivery Essentials and Capture Plus edition, and I'm also going to be highlighting a new version that's been available for a little bit over a year now, which is called Zetadox Payables Approval. It's designed to work with any of the Capture editions as a way to take a purchase order or purchase invoice and route it through an approval process and have the approvers not need to have an NAV license and provide them with the ability to approve a transaction from anywhere using a mobile device. So now I'm actually going to be going into my demo system again to highlight some of the scenarios that we hear from customers, the more popular scenarios as to why they deployed the solution. So we're going to be talking about how Zetadox Delivery Essentials can streamline the process of delivering invoices. That's probably one of the most requested offerings. In addition to that, I'm going to highlight the system's ability to streamline the process of archiving proof of delivery documents as well as supplier invoice documents, and then also routing documents through an approval process. So let's go back into the system. And from here, I'm going to start off by showing the delivery aspect. So for that, okay, I'm going to go. And Greg, I'm not sure, I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I think someone may not be muted.
There are 2 invoices.
So here we've actually got I've gone into my system, into my posted sales invoices, and what I wanted to highlight is the system's ability, rather than with Express of sending one document at a time, how we can streamline the process of sending, 300 invoices at a time. Now, with Zetadox, as I mentioned, it is very tightly integrated within NAV. So the process of sending those invoices out is no different than if you were printing them to a network printer. So I'm going to go in and create a filter. Now, in my demo system, I'm creating a filter based on the invoice number. Most organizations will do it based on the posting date. And rather than selecting their network printer, I'm going to choose Zetadox. Now, what happens behind the scenes when I select the Zetadox printer is it's going out to the going out to the customer cards and pulling any rules that have been set up for how we want to deliver these documents. So in this instance, I am using the Delivery Plus edition because that includes email, fax, and also hard copy print as the delivery methods. But now you can see all of these invoices are ready to be sent out. Each one will be personalized to its recipient and be delivered by their preferred means of delivery. Now, if I wanted to, I could go in. I have the ability to go in and edit one of these entries. So if I wanted to change the recipient, I can do that on the fly from this screen. But instead, I'm going to go ahead and send this batch of invoices out. Now, in speaking with organizations, I know companies that estimate that this will save them anywhere from, some organizations, it saves them 30 minutes to an hour a day when you consider the fact that they were sending one invoice at a time and it was taking them probably about 1.5 to 2.5 minutes to put that invoice together. With our solution, all of those invoices have started going out behind the scenes. And if I go into my outbox, okay, actually. Go into my sent items. And these are going out because there's one I wanted to show. So within my sent items, you can see what the invoice that's going out looks like. Now, this can be customized. Obviously, I'm in a demo environment, so the message that goes out is very simplistic. You could change this based on what your requirements are. But I did want to highlight that you can see that it's personalized the message to Stephanie. It's included the invoice number in the body of the email. We can also include the invoice number and the company name in the subject line. Now, oftentimes organizations will need to send a copy of an invoice to more than one recipient at a particular customer. In this instance, I do have this invoice going to Stephanie, but also John as well. And that's based on a rule that I have set up for this particular customer, which is the Canon Group. I've also specified that rather than having this go out from my personal email, it's actually going to be going out from a company email address, such as accounting@equisys.com. So you can set up the from email address so it's not going out from April's system. It's actually going out from the corporate finance address. In addition to that, with the PDF that's created, we have the ability to overlay a template on the report. So in this instance, we've got our sales invoice. And let me just make this a little bit bigger. So we've got the invoice that was sent out to the customer. But in the template, we also specified that we wanted to attach our conditions of sale. So now whenever an invoice goes out, not only will the invoice go, but you'll also have a conditions of sales document that will be attached as well. And with the system, the nice thing is from the customer and vendor aspect, there's always going to be a consistent look and feel to your invoices. And there will always be the conditions of purchase or conditions of sale will automatically be attached. It's not up to the accounts receivable person or payables person or the sales rep to include that information. The system will do it automatically. This template can be easily modified. So if you wanted to, let's say at this time of year, attach a third page that would include any holiday hours that you might be experiencing over the next 2 weeks, I've seen companies where they've attached that during the month of December. Now, one thing I did not mention before, with the Essentials and Plus editions of our software, they actually support versions prior to 2009 R2. The 2009 R2 was a requirement that Microsoft set up when we created the Express version. The Essentials and Plus editions of the software actually will support NAV 5.0 with the 2009 client and later. And we support both the classic and role-tailored version of the 2009 client in that setup. So now I've highlighted the system's ability to send out a batch of invoices. That can also be done with statements, order confirmations, pretty much any sales or purchasing related report. And when these documents get sent out, if you choose, you can have a copy automatically archived against the relevant record. The next thing which I wanted to highlight is some of the advanced capture capability. I showed the system's ability to archive a file using drag and drop, but a lot of times for the accounting team, they're handling a lot of paper documents, and the process of scanning and dragging each file one at a time could be very labor intensive. So what we've done with our advanced capture solution, Capture Plus, is developed a way to streamline how those documents can be archived. And to highlight that, I'm going to go through a scenario that we hear from a lot of finance teams. And that is that oftentimes they'll receive a paper invoice that comes in by mail from one of their vendors. Now, with Zetadox, what happens is when that vendor invoice comes in, you can pull up the relevant transaction within NAV. If the transaction hasn't been created, you can just key in the details from that invoice. Once you're done, in the ribbon at the top of your screen, you can see we've added a print barcode button. And what finance teams will do is they'll actually print a barcode, and the barcode is just a barcode representation of the invoice number. And they'll print that on a small footprint label printer. Typically, they cost around $100, and we'll print off thermal sticky labels that the user can then take and place on the first page of the vendor invoice. They'll then set that invoice aside and move on to the next one and process it and go through the same process, print a barcode, put it on the first page, set it on top of the other invoice. So on and so forth until they've processed all the invoices that arrived that morning, at which point they can walk over to a network scanner and scan that stack of documents to a mapped network drive that Zetadox monitors. Now, what the network scanner will do is it's actually going to create a single PDF document that includes all of those invoices. What Zetadox will do is it's actually going to go into the system and split all of those files based on the barcode that appears on the first page of each one and link it to the appropriate transaction. So in this instance, you can see I've got all of these invoices that have come in, and it's separated them and is linking them to the appropriate invoices within the system. Now, all a user needs to do is go in and look at this just to give it a once-over. So if I wanted to view a particular file, I could actually go ahead and just click on View. And that gives me the ability to view this particular document. As you can see here, we've got the barcode sticker that was placed at the top of the screen. And now I'm ready to process these, so I'm just going to click on Archive. And the system will go through archiving these to the relevant transaction. And once it's completed, it will delete them from this document queue. Now, on the vendor side, I see this process typically deployed with vendor invoices, also packing slips that arrive in the warehouse. On the sales side, I actually see it used quite a bit with proof of delivery documents. However, the process is a little bit different because when that delivery note is printed, the system can be changed or modified to include barcode on that report. So on the sales side, you actually don't need to worry about printing the barcode labels as you do with documents that are generated outside NAV. If I go back into the invoice, you can see here, I'm just going to go ahead and refresh this. Now I've got a copy of all of the records that were attached, and I can go in at this point and view supporting files that had been scanned into the system, so if I wanted to see the packing slip as an example. So that highlights the advanced capture capabilities. As you can see, it can easily streamline the process of filing the supporting documents. The last feature which I wanted to highlight, and I'm actually going to go back into the purchase order that April was working on before. This is the purchase order that Charles had requested a computer and some services, and April attached the quote from the vendor along with the service terms and conditions. Because what I'm going to do now is use or highlight our payables approval solution and how it can streamline the approval process. One thing that we've heard from customers quite a bit is the approval process lacks visibility. And in the first slide I showed where you didn't have access to documents, oftentimes the vendor invoice is making its way around an organization and no one really knows where an approval sits. With payables approval, we're going to put that process on screen by giving users the ability to start an approval process. And I clicked on the Zetadox approval button, which is actually taking April out to our payables approval website, where we can see we've passed the information that we need in order to approve this transaction. So I've got the department code, the line items, the supporting documents that we have, and the system is automatically assigned the first and second user based on the rules that have been set up in the system, saying that anything for the production department goes to Charles Smith, but if it's over a certain dollar amount, it's required to go to Phyllis's attention. Now, I'm actually going to streamline this. I'm set up in the system as a manager just because I know we're getting short on time, so I'm actually going to switch that to one approver. Once April starts the process, it will actually take her to a dashboard which gives her a view where all the transactions or all the requests are that she's initiated. So I can see I've got 13 outstanding actions, 10 of which are overdue, so I can actually drill down and view those approvals to see what the bottleneck may be, and if I need to reassign them to another approver. I can also see how many documents have been approved so far this month. Now I am going to switch browsers to show you the role of Charles. Now, Charles is someone who's oftentimes on the road and doesn't have access to NAV because he doesn't really need to access the system that often, or doesn't need to have access to the system. Charles will receive an email notifying him that he has an approval, and he can click on the View Approval, which will take him out to the approval website, where he can view the supporting documents that have been archived. So if I wanted to actually click on one of these to, let's say, make sure the pricing matched, I could actually do that from this page. So if I go ahead, let's say I wanted to click on this message, and I just need to type in a quick password. And here you can see, so if I wanted to match up the pricing, I can view the original email and make sure that everything is correct. And then from this screen, when I'm ready, I could type in pricing is correct, please issue PO, whatever the next step would be, and I'll go ahead and approve this transaction. But before I do that, the last thing which I did want to highlight is the status of this transaction within NAV is open. When I approve it, that will actually change from open to released. Whoops. So you can see now the status has changed. So that's an overview of 3 of the advanced capabilities that are available. As I mentioned before, we have numerous organizations where they will actually deploy Express and then purchase the advanced features just for the users that need that capability. And with that, I'm actually going to go on back into our PowerPoint. And this is a screen that I like to just wanted to wrap up with, and it talks about the various forms or examples of document management that we've seen, where we've seen customers deploy Zetadox. We've been discussing a lot of documents related to the purchase and sales process, but Zetadox actually we've seen deployed for storing all sorts of files, whether it be lease agreements, goods received notes, maintenance contracts, job sheets, really any documents that you want to link within your accounting system, Zetadox will be able to support the capture either through our Express offering or the more advanced Essentials and Plus editions. With that, I do want to thank everyone for your time today. I hope you found this session informative, and I'm going to turn things over to Greg to see if there are any questions.